In today's video, we're going to do a full summary of The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, plus look for some deeper meaning in the story. So if you've read the book or seen the movie, let's get right into it. The Hunger Games is set in the dystopian future in a made-up country called Panem, which used to be part of what we know as North America. Now Panem is divided into 12 districts that surround a wealthy capital city. Every year, the capital holds the Hunger Games, a televised event in which one boy and one girl between the ages of 12 and 18 from each district are chosen at random to participate. The participants, called tributes, must fight to the death until only one remains, the victor. It's basically like Battle Royale, but with more heart and more thought. Our story begins with Katniss Everdeen, a 16-year-old girl who lives in District 12, which is known for its coal mining. But since there's no coal left, most people have lost their jobs, and the town is falling apart. Now, when Katniss was younger, her father died in a mining accident, and since then, she's been the main provider for her family, especially after her mother became depressed. She hunts illegally in the nearby woods with her best friend Gale, and they provide food for not just her family, but other struggling families in the district as well. One day, Katniss's little sister Primrose is selected to be a tribute in the 74th annual Hunger Games. But since Katniss loves her little sister very much, she volunteers as tribute so that Prim won't have to go. At the same time, the male tribute from District 12 is Peeta Mellark, a baker's son who had saved Katniss's life as a child. When Katniss and Peeta arrive in the capital, they meet their mentor, Haymitch, who's the only living victor from District 12. He teaches them how the Hunger Games actually work. While in the capital, the tributes have to live in luxury, and they're paraded around in front of cameras to get sponsors. Sponsors are important because while the tributes are in the arena, they can send them gifts that might help them survive. Katniss knows that she needs to put on a good show in order to win sponsors, so she pretends to be in love with Peeta. This makes the capital citizens like them more, and they become very popular. In fact, Peeta and Katniss's relationship is the main focus of the book, and honestly, it's a good thing too, because without it, this story would probably end very quickly. Katniss is a great hunter and tracker, and Peeta is able to use his knowledge of plants to help them both survive. They also make a plan that if they win the games together, they'll share the prize money. In addition to this, Katniss wants to win the games so that she can take care of her mother and Prim. Also, it's worth mentioning that the game makers, the people who control the game, tend to favor the more brutal tributes, so Katniss and Peeta play up their romance in order to stay alive. As the tributes are being paraded around the capital, there's a rebellion brewing in District 11. Katniss is actually the Mockingjay pin that she wears, which represents the Mockingjay, a symbol of rebellion against the capital. Speaking of rebellion, President Snow, the president of Panem, threatens Katniss's mentor, Haymitch, saying that he will make sure Katniss doesn't win the games. Okay, now back to the story. Katniss and Peeta are now in the arena, which has been designed to look like the areas surrounding District 12. At first, Katniss is furious with Peeta for revealing her secret plan to hunt for food. But then she realizes that it was actually Peeta's idea to pretend to be in love. A few days later, Katniss is almost killed by a trackerjacker, a giant wasp-like creature, but Peeta saves her life by throwing a rock at it. Later, they find an abandoned log cabin where they can hide from the rain. But once they get inside, they realize that there's already a tribute in there. And it's Rue, a young girl from District 11 who reminds Katniss of her little sister Prim. Katniss and Peeta decide to help Rue, and they eventually kill the Careers, a group of ruthless tributes who were hunting Rue. Rue dies soon after, and Katniss is devastated. Peeta comforts her and tells her that Rue will be watching over her. Then Katniss puts on Rue's Mockingjay pin, and the camera crew catches her doing it. This makes Katniss and Peeta even more popular, which means that they receive even more gifts from sponsors. As a result, they're able to survive for longer. After Rue's death, the kids from District 11 start a rebellion against the capital. In response, the game makers make it harder for Katniss and Peeta to find food and water. This leads to Katniss breaking down and crying. Peeta comforts her and tells her that he loves her. Just when things seem to be going really bad, though, Katniss finds nightlock berries, which are poisonous but also look like the kind of berries that would grant them immunity in the games. If they eat them both, they would die, which would mean that there would be no victor, and this would cause a rebellion, exactly what President Snow was afraid of. But before Katniss and Peeta can eat the berries, they're interrupted by the game makers, who announce that there can be 2 victors. Katniss and Peeta are shocked but happy. They kiss, and the story ends. Now let's look at some of the deeper meaning in the Hunger Games. First, it's important to remember that the Hunger Games aren't just a TV show, they're a form of punishment. Originally, the districts rebelled against the Capitol, but the Capitol won the war, and they created the Hunger Games as a way to remind the districts that they are in charge. The Hunger Games are all about power and control. The Capitol has all the power, but the tributes try to take back control by making up their own rules and helping each other out. For example, Peeta and Katniss pretended to be in love in order to win sponsors, and then they broke the rules by hiding in the same cave. Second, The Hunger Games is a story about survival. The tributes have to fight to the death, but they also have to find ways to take care of themselves. This is why Katniss and Peeta hunt for food and water. They need to survive in order to win, but they also need to survive in order to stay alive. Third, The Hunger Games is a story about hope. Even though the odds are stacked against them, Katniss and Peeta never give up. They always find a way to survive, and they always try to help each other out. Lastly, The Hunger Games is a story about love. Love comes in many forms in this book. Katniss loves her family, and she would do anything to protect them. Peeta loves Katniss, and he shows her what it means to be selfless. And Katniss eventually learns to love Peeta back. Love is what gives Katniss strength, and it's what helps her survive the games. Now it's time for you to do your part. What are your thoughts on the Hunger Games? Let us know in the comments below. Also, what other books or movies should we summarize next? Once you've done that, if you want to keep this party going, we've got the perfect playlist for you. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. You are amazing. We love you. See you soon.